Yo, it's the Fields Bros. So we're back with more NBA. We're past the All-Star break, and my team, OKC Thunder, had their first game after the break, and it was against the Utah Jazz, which we were able to win in double OT tonight. So, really nice game. It felt like a playoff game all the way through. Um, this is an important win for Oklahoma City, more than most people would think. It's just a regular season game, but a lot of things are happening right now with our team. The first reason why is Utah eliminated OKC last year because we weren't playing the style that we're playing now. One, we had Melo on the team last year, and at that point Russ, Paul, and Melo were all trying to basically take an even amount of shot attempts. They were all taking like 17 shots a game, like almost exactly. So we weren't able to focus as much on Westbrook and George because we have Melo trying to integrate himself. And when you're trying to have a trio, opposed to the traditional duo for your, style for your team, the third player in the trio has to be, you know, a different skill set. He can't have overlapping skill sets with any of the players in the duo. In this case, Russ and Paul. Melo's not a player who can do other things. He's a guy who needs shot attempts, and that's not the third wheel doesn't need to do that when you have Russ and Paul. That's why this year with a guy like Dennis Schroeder, a relief ball handler is more valuable than having another wing player taking shots. In other words, basically last year Utah got lucky when they beat our team. Like, we're better than this Utah Jazz team. We have Russell Westbrook and Paul George, and if we didn't have Carmelo last year, we wouldn't have had this problem. We basically had a suppressed version of Paul George on our team last year because he couldn't be fully unleashed. There were so many plays where he didn't even get to touch the ball. There were plays where he was just out of rhythm because Melo's on the team. Like I'm saying, like it was just that was the problem last year. Look how freaking bad the Rockets started off this year when they were trying to integrate Melo into their system when they really need to just stick with their duo system of Chris Paul and James Harden. It's way more effective. The reason why Golden State's trio works is because Klay Thompson, the third wheel in their trio, is not a ball in hand player. Like Steph Curry and Kevin Durant are ball in hand players, like a Russell Westbrook or a Paul George. Klay Thompson's an off-ball player with comparable shooting abilities to Steph and Klay. That's why it works. Melo's not a catch-and-shoot player. He's a ball-in-hand player, which overlaps with Russ and Paul, which is why it suppressed both of our players. And going forward, the rest of the season, OKC has the toughest schedule remaining among teams, which is a good thing. We're going into the playoffs. We need to start picking up our intensity level right now. Utah is one of those teams who plays us tough. They get up for our games. Donovan Mitchell is a gamer, but he's not as good as Russell Westbrook or Paul George right now. Those guys are in their primes. Donovan Mitchell's got some time to go, but he has extremely high upside, no doubt. But the main thing that I want to talk about is Russell Westbrook. All I've been saying, if you've watched these videos, is that Russ, once his percentages start to rise from where they are and he shoots his normal, once he starts shooting closer to his normal percentages on the year, that's going to put OKC over the top. And what I mean by that is, now that we're, All-Star break, we're past All-Star break, you're starting to, if you're watching these guys play, you're going to be seeing basically the versions of the players that you're going to be seeing in the playoffs, like right now. Like, this is kind of a taste of things to come at this moment. Guys are in mid-season form. They're getting ready for the final push of the year. So at this point, I believe Westbrook's shot is going to be good from here on out. His last couple games, he's had over 43 points in his last two games. He's made over 5 threes in his last two games. He was 6 of 11 from three tonight. He's making more free throws. Like, this is all that needs to happen. If Westbrook is making shots, he is basically the most unstoppable player in the league because he's basically the fastest player in the league. Name me a faster player from end-to-end speed. You can't do it. And people might say, oh, well, anybody can have a couple, games where they shoot better. Well, the thing is, it's not, the reason why it's not a fool's gold, it's not a fool's gold sign. Number one, like I'm saying, it's mid-season. You're going to see signs of what players are going to look like in the playoffs around this time of year. Late February, early March. That's when you start to see these things. Number two, tonight, Utah is a team who is religiously, traditionally a great defensive team. So it's not like Westbrook is dropping 45 on the Orlando Magic or the New York Knicks, a team who sucks on defense. Utah is always a good defensive team. They've got Rudy Gobert in the paint, clogging the paint. They have, all their guards can play defense. Like not everybody in the NBA is on the same caliber on offense, but on defense, there's teams like Utah have defenders like Cephalosha, all these dudes who are notches above league average on defense. So when Westbrook's scoring against a great defensive team, that's a very good sign of things to come. So Paul George also finished the game. He ends up hitting the game winner. He gets past Ingles with a crossover, splits the defender, does a great teardrop right over Rudy Gobert to put them up by one with 0.8 of a second remaining. Utah, they missed the last shot they take from Kyle Korver, I believe. So OKC gets the win off great performances from Russell Westbrook and Paul George. They become, I believe they have another record now, or they've joined another club of duos who've had, 40 point plus, had at least 40 points or more, both of them in the same game. Other names in that list were guys like Michael and Scotty, Russ and KD, were in there. Russ and Paul George now. And I believe there was one more duo, I can't remember. But nonetheless, we're just seeing good signs. We're seeing good signs from this team. And the most important thing is games like this where you're trading blows with a team. You're playing a team who's got a dude in Derek Favors who's made 10 straight shots. Like, he's 10 of 11 from the floor, a role player. Like, being able to withstand stretches like that where, the percentages are against you and you're not, and guys are just making shots. Like, Utah on offense played, leagues above what they normally do on offense. They are not a very good offensive team. But tonight they were making their shots, and everybody. So it's important for OKC, especially just on a personal level, Paul and Russ, that they have to believe that they can win games like this, games where it comes down to, all right, it's Russ and Paul versus these dudes. Like, everybody else, gets out of the way, and we have two great MVP caliber players going at the other team. That is a play style that we have to believe that we can rely on that. Like, that's our calling card. It's nice to have games where we're moving the ball, everybody's scoring. It's not necessarily all Paul or Russ scoring all the points. Like, games where a Schroeder has a nice game. It's balanced scoring and we win by, comfortably 15, 20 points. Those are nice wins. But in terms of boosting your morale and the confidence that you can come back in games and that you can fall back on the God-given talents of Russell Westbrook and Paul George, that's going to be enough to, bring you to where you want to go. And games like, a win like this tonight is going to help reinforce that mentality in Paul and Russ. And, like, just watching, like, how the players react out there. Like, for example, Paul tonight, last couple games, Russ has had over 40 points. So, like, in games where Paul's been going off this year, Russ makes sure to keep feeding him. So Paul does the exact same thing. Russ is going tonight. He's making sure to, all right, it's Russ's turn to play. He takes a step back, just like when Paul is on fire. Russ takes a step back. So, like I said, I've just seen really, really great things from both these dudes all season long. So I believe that makes it 13 of 15 games. OKC has won their last 15 games. So pretty good. Keep it up, boys. Take it easy.